Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Last year, I introduced you all to DC Challenge, the round-robin style story where each issue is made by a different creative team that had to pick up a story from the previous issue without any planning in advance for where it would go. And the first issue certainly presented a ton of mysteries. Some kind of weird spirit that possessed people, an intern at the Daily Planet stumbling across some weird gathering of beings before then facing Humphrey Bogart, Jimmy Olsen encountering Groucho Marx, Superman fighting an unknown figure on the moon, Wonder Woman investigating a stolen nuclear device that in turn led to another spirit possessing someone, Adam Strange trying to get in touch with Superman while also being behind a different robbery, but most shocking of all, the revelation that Batman prefers beta to VHS! Oh, and I guess the Riddler was supposedly leaving evidence behind on crimes despite being behind bars, but screw that! Batman hates VHS tapes! Oh my god, Batman versus the Ring, make it happen! And since every issue was supposed to end on a cliffhanger, it ended with Batman confronting a weird pointy-eared being inside a power plant who claims that the beta tape he was sent contained a small nuclear device, probably the one that was stolen in Wonder Woman's plot, and that it's going to go off in 8 seconds. So let's dig into DC Challenge number 2 and see how Len Wein and Chuck Patton resolve this cliffhanger.
Atop the fourth wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man, punch, sporadically a grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. A universe in flux, Linkara. This comic sucks, Linkara.
The cover is okay. It's continuing that motif from the first cover, wherein it's a bunch of characters gathered around a giant question mark with an image inside of it, in this case of two of the weird demon spirits punching each other, while standing over a caged lion. Maybe the implication is supposed to be that they're giant-sized, but I'm rooting for Tiny Lion. Now, I wasn't kidding in the lead-in to the theme song, because we open on Len Wein and Chuck Patton discussing the cliffhanger they find themselves in, supplying the 2 pages of recap on what happened in the previous issue. Okay, Chuck, we've been over this thing about 50 times now. Any questions? Yes, damn it, I still don't understand why I can't use the can opener horizontally! Because it's dangerous, Chuck! Not if you do it right! But yeah, they talk about all the various plot points of the first issue. Meanwhile, on a Metropolis street, Superman battled a monstrous demon who had risen from the body of a stricken pedestrian. A pedestrian who had been dead since 1967. And yet they were still trying to pay off their student loans. In Gotham City, Bruce Wayne received a video cassette in the mail. A tape which revealed that the Riddler knew Wayne was secretly Batman. But then the rest of it had been taped over by an old Law & Order rerun. While in Washington, D.C., military intelligence officers Steve Trevor and Diana Prince were assigned to track down a stolen nuclear device, a weapon the size of a paperback book, which sounds small until you realize it's a single collected edition of Proust's In Search of Lost Time. Okay, that's just about all the really important details. The reader can check out last issue for anything else he wants to know. Like what? If these were all the important details, why would we suddenly want to look back at the stuff that didn't matter at all? Anyway, we truly open back in the power plant with Batman holding the weird turbaned being with but 8 seconds left before the nuke goes off. The Gotham City Light and Power Company at 7 seconds before doomsday. So, no time to make a sandwich? I don't want to die on an empty stomach. Now do you believe me, Batman? You can't radio for help because I'm jamming all the channels. And all the phones are dead as well, so you cannot contact your butler. I actually did time reading off that line while scripting this. About 9 to 10 seconds. They're all dead before he even finished.
You lousy little maniac! You're gonna tell me how to stop that bomb, or I swear I'll—
Really, Batman? Wasting what precious little time you have left on threats? Frankly, I had thought you above such childish displays. What precious little time? Even if that first dialogue from you hadn't eaten away more than 7 seconds, this exchange definitely would have. How much time does the comic think 7 seconds is? Oh, but of course, based on some digital displays of a clock, each line must be no more than a single second, since 5 seconds seems to remain, giving Batman ample time to think and a few more lines to be said. So it's more like this. Yeah, that's how fast it has to be going, otherwise how the hell is this not over yet?
Space is warped and time is bendable.
When sherry-flavored Piccolo seems to read Batman's mind and acknowledge an idea he has, Batman knocks him out. He sees the power cables to the East Gotham area, where Wayne Manor is located, and cuts them with a batarang. And indeed, that seems to have done the trick. The nuclear device in the tape must have needed electricity to activate. At Wayne Manor, Alfred is investigating. My word, not another blown fuse, and at such an inconvenient hour. It's time for my late-night infomercials. Master Wayne doesn't mind me using his credit cards to purchase stuff from them. Everything is shut off, it seems, including Master Bruce's video recorder. Why are you singling that out in particular, Alfred? How essential is that video recorder to Bruce's operations?
Alfred, I tied all the Batcomputer's electrical wiring into the Betamax player to keep it running.
Why?
It's essential for all my crime-fighting operations to keep it running.
You figured out a way to use the Batcomputer to unfilter scramble porn, haven't you?
What? No. Maybe.
Also, it's not shut off. There's clearly still a digital readout on the thing. It's got power. Oh dear, Master Wayne's video recorder has broken. I guess I'll have to get rid of it, and he won't insist on watching Home Alone for the 90th time this week. Such a shame. Also, Alfred spends way too much time alone considering how much he's talking to himself here. He plans to go to the basement to replace the fuses. Does Wayne Manor have a basement and the Batcave? I mean, I suppose nothing would preclude that, but it feels like that would lead to confusing conversations. But then looks outside and notices that half of Gotham City is gone dark too. Poor Benjamin Franklin. If he'd but known the trouble his discovery would one day cause us. Given the track record of the first issue, you'll probably get a chance to tell him. Back at the power plant, Batman is relieved that the 8 seconds have passed, after the minute or two it took for them to be dragged out, and that Gotham hasn't been nuked.
So it seems my little stunt worked, but that's about as close, if you'll excuse the expression, as I ever want to cut it. I am the world's greatest comedian!
He wants to interrogate the weirdo responsible for all this, but he's vanished.
This case just keeps getting weirder. One-Face's calling card.
He takes a photo of the strange numbers he had found in the last issue to see if the Batcomputer can decipher them. So it's less that Batman is the world's greatest detective and more that he has the world's greatest computer. Power plant workers finally show up, and it's always weird to see this pre-crisis version of him that's pretty casual with normal people. They're not angry or freaked out, they just want to know why he's there. He says not to turn the power back on until he gives them a call, and they're all, sure, no problem, bat-themed vigilante. Now, as I explained in the first review, for many creators, this was thought to be the last chance to play with certain DC characters before it was possible that Crisis on Infinite Earths would erase them from canon. So this issue, for the most part, shifts the focus away from who we saw in the first issue. And as such, we cut to Flagstaff, Wyoming in 1876. In that long, lonely hour after midnight. In those days, late-night infomercials were done by dancing girls in a saloon. A group of thieves are breaking into a bank vault, with one finding a hunk of rock in it. Before they can speculate as to its significance, Jonah Hex makes his appearance and guns the three down. However, he notices the rock, too. For a good reason. This chunk of rock they were stealing, all of a sudden it's glowing. Now it's radioactivated. That ain't a daisy. It's got some kind of written carved all over it, like one of them museum pieces, made in Tar Nation. He decides to hang on to it until he finds out who it belongs to. I mean, presumably the bank, but very quickly finds himself teleported to modern times. Welcome to 1985, Mr. Hex. Welcome to your nightmare. Oh my god! Porky's Revenge just got released! We cut over to the San Diego Zoo several hours earlier, where a press crew is interviewing Mike Maxwell and Bill Glenmorgan, aka the slightly more obscure DC superheroes Bwana Beast and Congo Bill. Longtime viewers of the show should recognize Congo Bill from Cry for Justice, where he went by the name of Congo-Rilla. Yeah, long story short there, he has a magic ring that allows him to transfer his consciousness into a golden gorilla, and by the time of Cry for Justice, his consciousness was stuck in it when his human body died. Comic books! Here, though, the two are talking about a Save the Ape Foundation that they're trying to raise funds for with an exhibit at the zoo, showing off the golden gorilla, as well as a pink and purple one playing chess with each other. Ms. Cortez, I'd like you to meet Congo-Rilla and Juba, two of the world's most intelligent apes. Not that intelligent. Congo-Rilla just fell for a fool's mate. Before they can continue, an earthquake hits and the ground splits open. A massive creature emerges and starts talking.
They have called, and I have answered! I am here to fix your water heater! After too many centuries beneath the cold, foul earth, the Manticore walks the world once more. Unfortunately, I don't remember where I parked. I am come to fulfill my glorious destiny. A new big and tall clothing line for those with scorpion tails.
We cut over to the moon, where we last left off with Superman. We discover that his assailant was none other than the cosmic villain Mongol, who's checking over the device he planted there to ensure it's not damaged. Once that's done, he gets ready to finish off Superman, but the Man of Steel has vanished. And then he suddenly pops out of the friggin' ground to punch him. You know, if I was going to ascribe Pokemon moves to Superman, Dig would not have been one of them. Mongol is confused how he got away with this, since the device was emitting red sun rays that should have incapacitated him. Shouldn't have left me lying face down, Mongol. I used the last of my heat vision to tunnel out the ground beneath me, until I sank out of range of your ray. You know, I was gonna ask how he didn't hear Superman doing that, but I figured, hey, it's on the moon. No sound and all. Except now they're talking to each other, so maybe Mongol created a small atmosphere here? But then how did he not hear him? Anyway, Soups punches Mongol into the device, which explodes instantly. Not a trace of him, or that strange machine of his. The explosion appears to have obliterated them both. You know, call me paranoid or overly cautious, but maybe you shouldn't build your machine so that accidentally bumping into it might cause it to explode. Seems like a design flaw to me. However, in the crater emerges some kind of symbol that he recognizes, but is confused. I know that symbol, but the one to whom it belongs is dead! Groucho Marx, why do you continue to taunt me? Back with Jonah Hex, he's overwhelmed by the noise and lights of the city and realizes he needs to clear his head. He spots a policeman nearby with his horse. Gotta get away from here. Gotta find some place where I can think. That horse! My only chance! Horse, quick! Where can I find some peace and quiet? His theft of the horse doesn't last long, though, since he doesn't know the traffic lights and is thrown off of it when he almost runs into a bus. He retreats into an alley, realizing that the chunk of rock is somehow responsible for this, when he is suddenly confronted by Peter Lorre, flanked presumably by Rondo Hatton and some dude with a black pencil-thin mustache. Don't ask me who. There were like 50 gajillion guys like that back in classic old movies. But yeah, Peter Lorre here, whom I actually needed Twitter to confirm. I thought he might be Peter Lorre. I tried to look it up to confirm, but I couldn't find any details anywhere that said it was him. The hair threw me off too, because I'm used to Peter Lorre having thinning straight hair and not the curls, but nope. His appearance here and a line later are very clearly based on his appearance in the Maltese Falcon. DC writers get the chance to play with any characters in their history, and we've got two in a row who decided, you know who we should have in this? Classic film stars. Although unlike Bogart and Groucho, they actually seem to be playing characters as opposed to themselves. But yeah, Lorre's goons threaten him with guns. Back in San Diego, Mike and Bill have both spirited away to change into their superhero personas. As it happens, my joke about playing with DC's character history does actually really work here. Bwana Beast had only appeared twice before in 1967. Namely because even back then, the character was considered racist. A white savior kind of character who was out to help Africa. He later passed the mantle on to a South African man named Dominic Mandawe, who used it to try to fight apartheid in the country, renaming him Freedom Beast. It was because Bwana was Swahili for leader, or more wince-inducingly, Master, which is really not what you want to have the name be for your white savior character. But I admit the alliteration was neat. Point is, Bwana Beast drinks an elixir and gains superpowers, including that helmet giving him the ability to telepathically communicate with animals. Honestly, if you can get past the terrible implications for the character's history, pairing up someone with that skill set with Kongorilla is kinda brilliant. Anyway, we cut over to the Sahara Desert, where a robed figure observes a bunch of vultures circling overhead. In the last issue, Superman had noted that Aquaman was missing from the JLA satellite, and it seems we've finally found him. In the desert for some reason. He tries to get some water from a mirage, but of course finds nothing but sand. He soon collapses as the buzzards get closer. Anyway, enough of that interlude. Back to the Manticore as it starts wrecking up the zoo. The cameraman from the interview has been filming it this whole time, but the Manticore notices him and picks him up, demanding he tells him where to find the Other. However, he soon realizes that the cameraman actually is the Other, because one of the demon spirits we saw from last issue emerges from him to attack. Kongorilla and Bwana Beast, meanwhile, help subdue a bunch of freed zoo animals. Oh yeah, and one of Bwana Beast's other powers? Fusing two different animals into one, as he does with a rhino and an elephant, since he can't take on both. Let the elephant and the rhino be as one!
What am I?
Soon, he and Kongorilla join up so they can finally confront the two fighting forces on the back of the rhinophant. The Manticore even identifies that the demon spirit is in fact a djinn, as in a genie. The outcome of our battle has been predestined, beast, and there exists no power on this earth that can change it. I mean, unless a different creative team suddenly came onto the book and altered the outcome, but what are the odds of that? The rhinophant tackles the Manticore, allowing the djinn to escape. The Manticore responds by shooting a beam of light at the two that blinds them. Blinded by the light! See, Evanier? Knew we'd get your stupid title in here someplace. Oh, yeah, there was one other part of the DC challenge. In addition to the cliffhangers, the previous creative team got to pick the title of the next issue just to screw with them even more. In this case, it was Blinded by the Light. They get increasingly goofier as they go on. Anyway, the Manticore grabs our heroes, preparing to crush them for their interference. Back with Jonah Hex, Peter Lorre and the goons force him into a car driven by the turbaned guy. Who the hell are you? Lord, what the hell are you? Well, in keeping with all these old dead actors, I'm actually John Agar. So kind of you to bring us the tablet, Mr. Hex. Look at it, my friends. The stuff that dreams are made of.
Oh, look, rocks.
When the goons ask if they should kill Hex, he knocks them both out. Oh, my dear Mr. Hex, I warned you not to get violent. Now I shall have to hurt you greatly. Honestly, the awesomeness of Jonah Hex versus the awesomeness of Peter Lorre, this is a pretty even matchup. However, Peter brought a knife to a gunfight, so Jonah just shoots him. He prepares to shoot the turbaned guy, but he's vanished. And so our comic ends with the car now careening out of control, with Jonah Hex having no idea how to control said car, as it's about to collide into a group of children crossing a street with some nuns. Honestly, considering the first issue ended with a potential nuclear explosion and with only 8 seconds to spare, a time-displaced Jonah Hex about to speed into some kids and nuns in a car with a dead Peter Lorre seems almost simple and down-to-earth by comparison. Next up on the creative team is Doug Mensch and Carmine Infantino, who have to deal with the title Viking Vengeance, which probably just means Travis Fimmel is going to show up in the next issue. This comic is pretty good. I may not be able to give credit for the time compression of those 8 seconds to resolve the problem, but kudos to Len Wein for coming up with a clever way to stop the nuke. I was really curious how the hell they'd be able to resolve something like that. And admittedly, because of the time compression, that dialogue is a bit clunky, especially Alfred, who needs to vocalize everything he's experiencing, but the rest of the book is handled pretty well. This isn't the first time Jonah Hex has traveled into the future, and it's always a delight when it happens. While we're still not certain about what overall is going on, it is still early in the Maxi series, so it's okay that we're only being drip-fed some answers here and there to some of the stuff happening. How it all connects would be left up to later. The artwork is also pretty damn good. While the first issue was rougher, this one definitely uses its space more effectively and has some good action bits. This may end up being a convoluted mess in the end, but damn if it ain't a fun ride to be on so far. Next time, it's our first Patreon-sponsored episode of the year, as we take a look at a comic that's, well, technically a tie-in to a cartoon series that had been off the air for 30 years. One false move, my dear Mr. Hex, and you will never lay eyes on anything ever again.
You're a daisy if you do.
Hello, my friends. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon or purchase a t-shirt via Teespring or Shark Robot. Thanks for watching.